Well, hello and welcome back to TwoSun Tuesday. I actually have the gumption to continue making a few of these in the same sitting, so I will go ahead and do that. I could have sworn that I had done a review on this, but I couldn't find one on my channel when I looked, which means that I've definitely done this during an unboxing, but hadn't done a full official video for it. This is the TS171-C because it does have the lightning strike anodization to the titanium there. This is a Wong design, and unfortunately, it's kind of a wrong design in some ways. This one actually surprised me when it first came out. It looked really interesting, but there's some things about it that I don't like all that much, and we're going to go ahead and cover them today. But first up, let's go ahead and open up that blade. Pretty nice kind of look to it. Not a crazy amount of drop to it, but all sorts of a nice kind of a elongated spade sort of thing going on there, and with a nice finger choil to it. This is a D2 blade. It is stone washed as well here. And yeah, we have basically a titanium subframe lock, which is interesting because in that particular case, I don't even know. I lost my train of thought on that. Hopefully it wasn't important. Let's continue on there. But yeah, so we got that sort of stuff going on here. First thing from the pictures, I kind of would have thought that this pocket clip here was going to have a secondary attachment point, like he had done on previous models to mitigate kind of tearing up the micarta. Unfortunately, that's not the case. This one hasn't developed a huge amount of wobble yet, but it will. So that's unfortunate. Kind of a design oversight, whether or not that was a concession by TwoSun or if he forgot about it here because it had been implemented better in some other knives previously. Um, so that is kind of a little bit of a knock to it. This is kind of one of the first times that I've seen them use kind of this micarta here. It is a fairly high thread count sort of stuff. It's not their micarta of the past. And it's got some milling in there. It feels pretty good. I do like it. It does have a nice texture to it, and it is on both the back and front sides there. The pocket clip ends up working out all right. It's a little stiff, but the ramp ends up working great in both directions. And we just have a couple of barrel spacers there in the back. It's not very easy to get to the blade on this guy, so that's also pretty good. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit of stats over here. So we got 3.81-inch blade, but of course that's from the back of the handle out to the tip. So you do have less than that for cutting length, but it is still pretty good. Probably around 3.5 inches or so of cutting length. I hadn't really measured it, but that's all right. That's 96.9 millimeters. It's still a 3.8 millimeter blade stock thickness, which is fairly normal for TwoSun to do. Which is interesting that it's a little bit more difficult for me to get in there. The blade is pretty much in there. Like if I really tried, I could, wedge my finger meat in there to kind of slide forward. So it is maybe a little bit close, but it's not something that's gonna bite you accidentally. It's something that you definitely need to seek out. So that's all right. We have 4.15 ounces here, or 118 grams, which that's not too bad. And then 0.53 of an inch for the handle thickness. So a little bit wider than Spyderco PM2, but I'm sure it would be exactly the same if we didn't have the micarta spacers. Hey, there we are with said PM2, since I just have that sitting over to the side. So this thumb thing here, which is kind of nice that you can take it off. If I do remember right, it is kind of inset there, so unfortunately It's not as easy to swap it over to carry it on the left side as might be desired. It ends up working well. It does feel a little awkward to do a slow roll, which is kind of what these paddle kind of things are designed for. But you can still get behind it easily and easily flick that out there. And because we have such a long choil, just barely any of it actually comes through that blade path. So it does stay nicely out of the way. That finger choil is quite generous, which means that I can actually use it, which is great. Not something that I can say from a lot of knives outside of Spyderco, and especially not from a lot of Chinese designers. However, I'm pretty sure that Wong here actually has some pretty sizable mitts from some of his Instagram sort of stuff here. I would like to see just a little bit of lock bar access. This thing is pretty much just flush. We do have a little bit of a chamfer there. It's not incredibly difficult, but it could be so much easier if we just had a little bit either cut out of this side here or the lock bar side extended just a little bit. Either way would have helped out a little bit. And also, I would like me some jumping up there just for stability. Since, just putting a lot of force on it, sometimes my thumb likes to move out a little bit, and that can kind of mess up exactly what I was doing with a cut here. We have it stays thick, and then starts to taper probably around 2/3 of the way out. So the tip is decently fine. And the geometry overall is nice and slicey, so that's pretty good. Take a look, see if I didn't miss anything. Alrighty, cool. So yeah, I do like the Micarta. However, with the pocket clip only having that single kind of point of contact where it looks like they probably could have had a secondary pin in there, that would have helped out quite a bit. But yeah, it does have that nice texture on there. It is especially necessary with this color variant, since they highly polish the titanium so that the anodization colors can show through, and that does make the knives with their color variant a heck of a lot more slick than they would otherwise be with their bead blast finish on it. So I do like that you can actually remove this thumb stud if you need to. It is titanium, so I guess if you wanted to anodize it bronze or whatever, fairly easy to do. We do have a little lanyard hole in there between those two little back spacers. And yeah, we don't really have any weight relieving going on. That being said, they did carve the channels in for the micarta to sit into, so they are inset rather than on the sides there. So that's where they're getting a little bit of weight relieving done with it. So let's go ahead and do some blade size comparisons, huh? Let's go ahead and do our paramilitaries here. There's the paramilitary 2. There's the para 3. Always strange with the Spyderco naming conventions, where you have the military, you have the paramilitary, and then you have the PM3, or the paramilitary. Well, this is the second version of it, so paramilitary 2, and then the PM3. Yeah, just strange, because you might want to call this a paramilitary 3, but it's technically not correct. Oh well, whatever. That's just me being all sorts of goofy. But alrighty, there's the Spyderco Endura. We can also match that up with a native, which is quite a bit smaller. But if that's a knife that somebody's actually carrying or has a lot of familiarity with, then well, hopefully that helps. Alrighty, here we are with the Benchmade bug out and the 940 there. Yep. All right. And let's see, one more Benchmade here. We got the Griptilian. few more that might be useful. There's the rat number 1. And there's a little Civivi Elementum there, in case you want to see that size comparison. And one last one to go on. A little bit of a smaller one. There's a K-Bar Dozier Folding Hunter. Also another fairly small one, but one that a lot of people are familiar with. So, usually at this point in the video, I will say that we're going to go ahead and take this thing apart. However, there's something that I want to bring up first of all, and it's probably a knife you've seen on the channel a few times. And that is this guy here. This is the TS171-C, which this guy is a little bit newer than, but yes, this we can see very similar blade shape, but it is a little bit higher overall. This one's in 14C28N, so if you actually like having a little bit more stainless steel, then there you go. This one's not quite using the same kind of a fancy micarta, but it ends up working out quite well rustically with it. This thing does have jimping up top. It does have a nice finger choil for it as well. At least for my particular specimens, this one has a little bit better action to it. And this pocket clip still kind of unfortunately has that same kind of thing, which if it did not... Oh, it does. Okay, so I was pretty sure that it did, but I kind of second-guessed myself there. But yes, this one has a secondary post in there that does interface with the steel as well. So the micarta in this thing won't develop much in the way of damage over time. It will move just a little tiny bit. But this one essentially at some point can, especially if you've snagged the pocket clip on something, have that kind of spin around and basically be completely useless. So this one is kind of interesting, maybe a little bit slimmer, but I really do feel like this is a superior knife in almost all ways. The cutting length maybe just a hair shorter on this guy, but still, this, to me, this one is definitely the way to go, from the same designer with the same essentially kind of blade shape and stuff like that, just a little bit higher grind, and with 14C28N instead of a D2 that some people might be way too bored with. But I mean, either one of them are all right. Just this one has a couple of things that irk me that this guy didn't. This is the TS171-C, by the way, in case you were familiar or curious. But alrighty, let's go ahead and do some disassembly on this guy here. We got T8 hardware. Got the Chicago screws kind of falling out a little bit. But yeah, there we go. Not a heck of a lot to see on the inside here. We got the D-shaped pivot that is going on the show side, so fairly easy to put back together. Where there's the blade stop pin, fairly normal size to it. The 286 also has a blade stop pin. It's not internal, so yeah, just whatever. But yeah, we can see it's pretty boring looking on the inside there. Not a whole lot of things to take a look at. But yeah, let's go ahead and pull that out so I can... Oh, there's another screw holding them on the back. I forgot about that. At least this is a T8 on the back side here. But yeah, there we go. We got, it is inset rather than onto it. So nothing super special with the construction, but it's still done quite well. And I do appreciate that their newer models do have that D-shaped pivot on the show side, so when you're putting them all back together, you don't have to worry about trying to line up that D shape on the lock bar side that a lot of their older designs did. So there we go. Just lay this guy flat, making sure that I keep those Chicago screws there. Pop that in. Get one of their standard bearing races in there, and a bearing, and then throw the blade in. And the other bearing race, and then these barrel spacers. Let's just kind of slide on top. They've used them for a couple of them, one of which they accidentally kind of ruined the TS304 from Mazwan with, which I have seen that there's an up variant. I don't know if that's what they fixed. I certainly would hope that it is. But, yeah, there we go. Oh, whoops, I, of course, picked that up just a little too early, so everything has now fallen apart. Well, I found it directly after I cut, but whatever. Let's go ahead and slap this back together here. Move that out of the way. I just have to remember to, well, what if I move that up a little bit so y'all can see it instead of just me? Alright, so I do have to keep a bit of pressure on the backside here. Oh. Never mind, I didn't have to pick it up at all. I'm an idiot. But, that's alright. Hooray for fumbling. Alrighty. Just get in your hole. Okay. We made it. So yeah, this guy has a bit of a late engagement with the detent. It does have a detent ramp on it, and of course we have a generous finger choil there, so you don't really have to worry about that biting you on the way down. This guy is done just a little bit better, engages a little bit quicker, but then again it also has a flipper tab. But yeah, there we go. There's the TS171. It's an interesting knife, and if absolutely being thin is something that's very, very important to you, then this is probably the one to go with. Otherwise, I would probably say go for the TS286. To me, it just ends up being more useful and more comfortable in different grips and stuff like that. And hey, it's got 14C 28N steel instead of a D2, which is quite frequently used by just about everybody at this point. But alrighty, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. And subscribe if you made it this far in the video and had the patience to deal with me fumbling around with some of the bits here. Alright, I'll catch y'all later.